All right. Hey.
Hi, Mickey, and hi, everyone. It is Halloween Day, 31st October.
Oh yeah, happy Halloween. I
Yeah,
forgot.
it's oddly kind of warm for Halloween. I can remember when it was pretty chilly. I don't celebrate this holiday very much anymore. I'm too old for that. But a lot of people do, and there's this big parade in Greenwich Village annually on Halloween night.
Hmm.
Hundreds of people get involved with that. So I may watch it a little bit on the television, but it is the end of October, beginning of November, and big occasion for my partner here. Mickey is going to, with his fiancee, with Sarah, going to run in the New York City Marathon, which is this
Yeah.
coming Sunday, November 3rd.
Yeah.
And tell me all about that.
Yeah. I never was a runner. I have no experience being a runner. The most I have ever really run was when I was in high school. We ran. My baseball team would have to run maybe like a mile or 2 miles at most, and then I would run. Again, maybe a mile or two when I'm at the gym before I start working out or something. But other than that, like I never really ran. And then I don't know how long ago it was now. About a year and a half ago, maybe now. My best friend's dad died from a. They don't know exactly what it was from, but it seems to have been a heart-related condition, and he was pretty fit. And he was actually running when he had his heart attack. I think it was a heart attack. And from that day on, it's just like kind of really got in my head that I need to, I was gonna be turning, I guess maybe 29 at the time. I'm now 30. But I was getting to that age where I was thinking like I've never really put any focus physically into cardiovascular health, or my lung health, my breathing, and all of the gym stuff that I've always done has been like chest or biceps or whatever, just lifting weights at the gym. And I suddenly started to think I really, really need to focus on my long-term health. So I started running. I made like a deal with myself last year in November that I would run every single day for 30 days, from never having really run before. And I ran about 4 miles a day, 4 to 5 miles a day, every day for 30 days.
I didn't know that, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And that was very hard to do from having never run more than like 2 miles before. But it became a little bit easier as it went on. I actually ended up hurting myself on like day 26. I hurt my Achilles tendon, but I only had 4 days left for my deal, so I just kind of did it anyway, even though it was hurting. And because, I mean, you know how they say, like, if you do anything for 30 days in a row, it becomes a habit?
Yeah.
So I really thought if I ran every day for 30 days, I'd become a runner and I'd start running. But once I hit day 30, because I had hurt my Achilles tendon, I stopped running again for like 4 or 5 months after that. I was just like, I can't run anymore. And then we saw the marathon last year, and I was really inspired by my friends who had run it, who also had never run before, but then decided to run the marathon. Sarah and I both thought, I think we could do that. We should just try. So we decided to sign up, and then from then on, it was kind of like, people keep saying, I can't believe you're still enjoying running, you're still making this decision every day to like do this running thing. But I really view it as like I made one decision a year ago to run the marathon, and I, up until what I'm assuming on Sunday will happen, is up until now I've like basically regretted it the whole time, because training for the marathon is terrible and so hard, and it requires so much time and so much effort, and I have not enjoyed the training very much, but I have reaped the benefits of it in so many aspects of my life. Just from the discipline habit of running 4 to 5 times a week and doing long distance runs that take 2 hours out of your day, plus a half an hour before to prepare, and then a half an hour to an hour after to when you get home to shower and clean up and then start your day. So it's like a 3-hour commitment, 4 days a week or whatever, when you're training. That has been a damper on my social life. Probably I stopped drinking recently too, in preparation for the marathon, because I don't want to have any excuses as to why I don't do well.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling really good.
Good.
I'm feeling very excited. I have heard from so many of my friends who have run marathons that you hate it when you're training, but once you've crossed the finish line for the first time, it's like the most incredible feeling of your life, and it becomes almost addictive. Like you'll want to do it again, which I can't see myself wanting to do it again next year right now, but I'm imagining that after Sunday I'm gonna think differently about it and probably want to run again. But yeah, so it's coming up, and we're ready for it.
I think that's fabulous, absolutely wonderful.
Thanks.
And I did not realize that anybody can sign up for that. I thought you had to have some qualification before you sign up for it.
For some marathons you do. I believe for the Boston Marathon you have to qualify with a time.
Yeah.
And you have to run a certain number of marathons in order to qualify, I believe.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But for the New York Marathon, you just have to, you can either enter into the lottery and try and win a spot in the lottery, or you can raise money for a charity.
Yes.
But you have to be accepted onto the team by that charity, so it's just a bunch of emails you're sending to all these different charities, hoping that they'll pick you. Sarah got into one charity, I got into a different one, and so we both had to raise $3,000 independently for these charities in order to be eligible to run the marathon.
Have you done that now?
Yeah, we've done it. So we've both done it. So we have the money's raised. We are running for our respective teams. I'm running for Good Grief, which is a nonprofit organization that helps children process grief after loss, particularly of a parent, usually, or a parental figure in their life. So 6, 7, 8-year-olds up to, I suppose, 18. Group therapy sessions and counseling sessions with them and with their other family members to sort of help kids understand what it means to die and process that change in their life, which I think is a really incredible organization that I'm proud.
I had not heard of it, but yes, it sounds incredible.
Yeah, I'm proud to represent them. I initially wanted to run for a Lyme disease related organization, but there are none that have spots in the New York Marathon this year. So I had to find an alternative. But yeah, so I'm very excited. And then next year, the other way that you can run it is if you do what's called a 9+1, which is you have to run 9 New York Roadrunners races. New York Roadrunners is the organization that orchestrates all of it. Yeah. You have to run 9 of their races, from 5Ks to 10Ks to 10-mile races, whatever, half marathon. If you run 9 of those and you volunteer at one of them, then you automatically have a slot in the following year's marathon. So I've done the 9+1 as well for this year. My final race for the 9+1 is on Saturday, the day before the marathon. And once I do that, I automatically have a spot in next year's marathon if I want it, without having to raise any money or do the lottery.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to our listeners, to let them know how the marathon is laid out in New York.
Yeah, well, it starts in Staten Island. It goes over that bridge, the Staten Island Bridge, I guess it's called. I don't know
And it starts at what hour on Sunday?
Well, there's time slots, so like there's certain waves. I'm sure that the fastest runners who've qualified for the first wave, they start probably at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. My wave starts at 9:45, so I have to be in Staten Island. I have to be at the Staten Island ferry to go over to Staten Island at 6:15. That's my ferry time. Sarah's is at 6. So she'll go over at 6. I'll go over at 6:15. And then once we're over there, we have to go to our corrals, find our wave. I'm in the blue wave, it's called. There's just the way that they break up all the groups. So I'm in the blue wave of Corral E, or second wave, blue tier, whatever, and Corral E. So I'm set for a 9:45 start time.
Wow.
And then it goes from Staten Island over the bridge into Brooklyn, all through Brooklyn. I don't know if it dips into Queens. I think it does dip into Queens a little bit.
I think it does.
And then it goes back into Manhattan, up, I don't know, 2nd Avenue or something.
First Avenue.
First Avenue.
I think
and
so.
then over into the Bronx, around, just like a little dip into the Bronx, back into Manhattan, and then down, I guess, 5th, and
It
then
is.
into Central Park. And then it ends at 72nd Street in Central Park. So you go into all the boroughs, and yeah, just run your little heart out. But it's gonna be cool. Everyone's gonna be cheering our names.
Yeah, it's
Have our
great.
names on our shirts. Yeah, I'm excited.
I think it's fabulous.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Good for you. Good
Thanks
for
for
you.
letting me start off this with that. I am very excited about it. But we have more important things to get to today than me running around New York.
Okay. We have hardly a minor event. We have an election, November 5th, which is next Tuesday, for the next President of the United States and Vice President, and a number of congressional people. If you are in the House of Representatives in this country, you are elected for, I believe, 2 years, and everybody in the House has to run for re-election if they wish to be re-elected. If you are in the Senate, that duration of your election is somewhat longer. I think it's 4 years.
I don't know. I think so.
So that there are 2 senators, from any number of representatives, depends on the population. 2 senators from each state, and they are not necessarily up for re-election at the same time. For instance, in New York State, Senator Gillibrand, a lady who is a wonderful gal, is up for re-election and is running, will very likely be re-elected. Senator Schumer is obviously not up for re-election because I've seen no ads for him and a ton of ads for her and zillions of ads for a lot of other people, to the point where you're screaming and say, let's get this thing over with. So we are going to talk about politics as it pertains or does not pertain to the election. Obviously, it's a very important election. Kamala Harris, who is our current vice president, is running against Donald J. Trump, who is trying to get back into office, having been president a few years back. He is obviously Republican. She is obviously Democratic. They chose their vice presidential running mates. Hers is a governor from Minnesota, I believe.
Tim Walz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the moment, the polls, who have been having quite a heyday, because there are lots of polls, have them actually quite even,
Yeah.
quite neck and neck. People can vote in different ways. I, because I'm not very mobile, have gotten and already sent in an absentee ballot. So my vote is already
been cast.
sent into the mail.
Cool.
And hopefully there, and hopefully being counted. It's a paper ballot. You fill it out. I requested it. It was sent to me. I filled it out and sent it back. If you don't want to do that, you can vote on an early voting day, for example, today,
Yeah.
and I think tomorrow, and I think Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow.
Okay, you can vote that way in a number of different places in person. And if you don't want to do that, then you vote on election day itself, Tuesday. In that case, you go to the place where you are assigned, depending on your address and your registration, which has already been done, presumably. They say that because the race is almost surely going to be very close, the results will not be known the same day. People get itchy. I get itchy. I'm already itchy.
I've been itchy for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Waiting for this.
Quite itchy.
Yeah.
I said to a friend of mine, you got to come over and be with me that day to keep me from going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Although the results really most likely will not be known that night, or maybe they will be, but quite possibly not.
Before last election, they pretty much always were known the night of, right?
And sometimes mistakenly.
Yeah, I remember
the famous one with
Bush
Truman.
and Gore as well. Truman?
Yeah, the Chicago Tribune actually
misposted
printed
oh gosh,
a false election
result. Yeah,
that Dewey wins in great headlines, but it was not true. Truman won.
Whoa.
That was their mistake. I don't think papers do that anymore. By the way, one of the controversies currently about this election is who are important people endorsing.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because Mr. Trump has received endorsements. Sorry, I'm going to correct that. Kamala has received endorsements from several of the very high-ranking people from Trump's time in office. These people have changed their loyalties. They are now voting for Kamala, for Harris, and it's been quite a jolt. These are important endorsements, obviously. These are really very highly placed people. The other interesting thing is that a couple of the major newspapers are not giving any endorsements.
Yeah, L.A. Times.
The
New
L.A.
York
Times
Post.
and the Washington Post. The
Yeah.
Washington Post is a very important. Actually, they both are. I think probably right after the New York Times, in terms of real importance. They are not endorsing anyone. It is not a happy situation for people, for a number of people, including some who work for those newspapers. Other people, obviously it's the owners of the newspapers who make this decision, but a number of people I have read, of well-placed people certainly within the Washington Post, have resigned.
Oh, wow.
Because they object to the fact that whereas an endorsement is a normal part of an election year, this newspaper is sitting it out and not endorsing.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting and nerve-producing time.
Yeah, it's not fun, that's for sure.
They say there are some people undecided. I can't imagine by now that anybody could be still undecided, but maybe there are.
Yeah, I mean, I think a large portion of people are undecided as to whether they're going to vote at all. You know, I think so many people are disheartened by both candidates.
Do you know some people who are sitting it out?
Yeah, I do. I know some people who are sitting it out. I'm still unsure as to where I'm gonna sit on this whole situation. I have half a mind to vote for Jill Stein because she's the only candidate, despite my many disagreements with her. She's the only candidate that is actively protesting the war in the Middle East, while both Kamala and Trump are both very much in support of the war in the Middle East, and our money being directly a part of it. But yeah, I think so many people are very, very disheartened by the fact that not only do we have Donald Trump running again, this is now for the third time in our world, in our political landscape. He seems to just not want to leave. But we also have Kamala, who was not chosen by the people, which has been a very big pain point for a lot of people on the left.
Yes.
Or at least the Democratic Party, that she wasn't elected by us. She was appointed by the administration to follow in Biden's footsteps. So people feel very robbed of an opportunity to find a candidate that they actually wanted to support. It seems, I think, to many very anti-democratic of the Democratic Party,
yes,
to choose for us, a replacement for Biden. And with that said, I think they've both run very strong campaigns. Obviously, I mean, they're neck and neck. So they've both done a very good job of, rallying their sides. But it's at a point now where it's causing so much turmoil domestically, and with just our population. Certainly in my own demographic, I don't go a single day without discussing politics with many of my friends.
Sure.
And sometimes it gets very heated, and sometimes it's all right, but it's ultimately just very exhausting. I think everyone's very emotionally drained. I feel like
absolutely
people just want it to be over.
Yep.
And there's a lot of doomsdayers out there who think that the results are very dependent on the well-being of our nation, and I take maybe somewhat more of I don't know if it's a pessimistic look as much as it is just like a realistic perspective of we're going to survive either way. We've had many bad presidents many times. Trump has already been president once for 4 years, and we survived it. Kamala was a part of the administration that we currently have, and we've survived that. So either way it goes, although it makes very different trajectory decisions for us, I think we'll ultimately be okay. And we just need to push through 4 years.
I hope you're
however
right.
It goes.
I hope you're right. Not everybody feels that way.
I know, but no one felt that way last time or the time before that either, and we're still here. So
Listen, I think before we go too far on this, we're talking about elections and not just politics.
Oh yeah, let's change the subject.
Which is presumably our topic. I looked it up. A politician in the dictionary is someone holding an elected government post. That's what a politician is. Comes from the word politics. The word politician has come to have not a very positive connotation these days.
No, definitely not.
I mean, he's a politician, makes him sound like there's something kind of questionable.
Yeah, snaky.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I have thought about this. In all the years that I taught, I can't remember one person, boy or girl, who seemed interested in going into politics. As it happens, I know a couple of people, former students, who now are in the government world, but not a lot, and it's too bad because these are good people, and the government needs good people. The country needs good people, of course, obviously. And yet the word politician it sounds a little smeared, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, at least from my perspective, you know, the label of politician represents a kind of liaison between government and like big money. And people don't trust anymore that politicians have if they trust that they have the desire, they don't trust that they have the capacity to make actionable change on things that really matter to the people, because they are owned by corporate interests and corporate lobbyists, and that sort of ties their hands. There's nothing that they can really do, although they every time say that they can and that they will, they don't. You know, and after being lied to so many times, people sort of stop trusting that the person actually wants to help me more than they want to help.
I think it's unfortunate that to go into politics, as it were, you have to have money. You can't do it if you're poor.
Yeah.
You have to. If you are poor, you better put together a bunch of money to help you. Otherwise, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that seems to me a great shame, because it must certainly leave out a lot of people
who actually want to, you know, make the...
Yes.
It's one of the reasons that Bernie Sanders is not poor by any means, but he is one of the very few politicians, whether you agree with him or not, who has remained consistent for virtually his entire career on most of the important policies that he believes in. And I think it's also one of the reasons that he's never really been able to get any higher than he has, is because he's too principled. He doesn't know how to play the game of politics, and he doesn't know how to make the deals that need to be made in order to get into those high-ranking positions. And so he's sort of stuck as a populist representative that can't do anything because he's too principled. And I think, you know, going back to the definition of politician, if you can be too principled to be a politician, then politicians themselves, by definition, are not that principled. You know?
Yeah. Has it ever seemed enticing to you?
It has, yeah. I think that if I were to ever go into politics, which maybe one day I might try, it would be local. It would be small.
Sure.
You know, mayor of a town or something, or just get onto a board for something. But I think that national politics, the national political stage, is probably not something I'd be very interested in doing. I think that you can make a lot more change, real change, on the local level as a politician. And the farther up you get, the more people... It's like playing telephone, you know. Once you're far enough detached from the actual ground level where everybody is living, the amount of hoops you have to jump through to make the thing you say you want to happen. By the time it gets there, it's not going to be what you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And it's just too many people it has to pass through that don't want it, or that don't have the interest, or don't want to fund it, or, you know. But if you're the mayor of a small town and you want to put a stop sign at a place where too many car crashes are happening, you can kind of just do it, you know, which is small but impactful. And there's a world where I would want to do something like that. I don't know.
Can you think of any politician, I guess would be the word, who you really admire, current or past?
I can't speak much for past because I didn't really get too invested in politics until I was in, maybe even after college. But up until recently, one of my favorite politicians was Tulsi Gabbard, who, you know, is the representative of Hawaii.
Why?
She, of everything that I listened to her, she has always seemed very consistent about her beliefs. Her international politics beliefs align with some of mine. She's been fairly anti-international, you know, war, and she's also a veteran who served, I think, at least 2 or maybe 3 tours. She knows what war looks like. She's against it, where it seems now both the Republican and the Democratic Party seem very for it. So that was always powerful to me. She also seems very, very genuine in the way that she speaks about her own population. I really wanted to see her win the primary in 2020 against Biden because, she is, not that I care too much about identity politics when it comes to these things, but from that vein, she is a very strong, independent-minded woman of color who is also a veteran, who was also a Democrat, and very much ticked every box, except that she wouldn't play the political game, and she couldn't be controlled by the powers that be or whatever, so they really tried to smear her back then. And now she has pivoted and endorsed Trump and is now become a Republican. She's registered as a Republican now, which has really thrown me for a loop because I've admired her for many years.
Yeah.
It's caught me off guard. I don't know what her long-term agenda is with this. I think a lot of the people who support her feel a bit abandoned and a bit sort of deceived. I felt similarly with RFK. I don't know what their plans are for what they're doing now, endorsing Trump and being potentially part of his administration. But yeah, I would say that Tulsi Gabbard is someone that I very, very much admired. I don't know where I stand with her now in my head, but up until recently, was my favorite.
But that's great that you knew her and do know her very well. That's good.
Yeah, I like her a lot. I know that you like Pete Buttigieg.
I do. I suspect that we have not heard the last of him.
I'm sure not. How old is he? In his 40s?
He's still pretty young.
Yeah.
He's got time still to go.
Yeah.
He is a gay, married man, now a father of 2 little kids. He is extremely bright. To listen to him speak is a pleasure because he knows language. He knows grammar. He speaks in real sentences. Imagine.
I know. Imagine that's a qualifying thing we have to think about now.
But he does, and he's multilingual, and he is currently transportation secretary. But surely he has ambition. They say he's very ambitious.
Yeah, well, he's already tried once, so why not again?
Yeah. So we shall see what happens with him.
Yeah. I don't know who else really sticks out to me as someone that I can rally behind yet. I don't know. I've never been too much of a fangirl of politicians, I just need to see if they align with me on many things. There's many politicians that I would vote for who I don't agree with about many things. But I believe that their interests are in the right place and that they're empathetic and that they really do want to make a change. We might not agree on what that change should be, but I think we have similar visions for the future of our country and obviously the world. But yeah, I don't know if there's anyone right now that sticks out to me as one particular politician that I really love, that I would go out and stand in at a rally for.
I saw I've seen so many television segments on the election lately, and there was one yesterday in a small town, I think in Michigan, and they had a neighborhood of modest houses, one house next to the other, and every other house was a different party sign. It was so interesting. It was Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat.
Wow.
And that's just the way the neighborhood is.
See, that, I feel is what it should be.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And these people were neighbors. They were neighborly. They helped each other, but they belonged. Their loyalties were different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that, and then that sheds a light on why polls can be so even.
Oh yeah.
My gosh.
I also think, just, we're a little bit over now, but just to at least close on a funny thing. Polls are so silly to me because I know nobody who has answered a poll. And so the people that they say, like, this poll is representative of the population, of the demographic that shows they're in favor of Kamala Harris, whatever. I'm like, who are these people? Because I've never answered a poll, nor have I been asked to. And the people who take the time to answer polls must be such an insignificant number of the population of people in our country.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who these polls represent. Have you answered polls before?
I tend not to.
Yeah.
I get requests for answering, but I often don't do it
Yeah.
because I just don't want. Truthfully, I don't want to be on any more mailing lists. If I were to donate money to one or the other parties, it would be unending.
Yeah.
Every day I would get another request for donation, and I don't have the money to do that. So I stay away from that.
I've never donated to a party for anything. They have enough money. They don't need mine.
Yeah, I tend to feel that way.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
We've done it.
Listen, the next time that we meet in a couple of weeks, we will have a new president-elect. That tally will certainly be finished by then, surely by then. Maybe not the same day, but by then, surely.
Yeah, hopefully.
And we will know who in January will be inaugurated as the next president.
Oh, gosh.
Male or female.
Yeah, right?
It would be exciting if we had a female president.
It would be cool to have that.
Yeah, it would be exciting. We shall see. Anyway, good luck on the marathon.
Thank you. Thank you, Stanley. Good luck on whatever you're doing in the next week.
Voting.
Oh, yeah, good luck on... Oh, you already voted.
No, that's true.
Good luck on the results.
No, I can't vote twice. I'd like to try, but I don't need to.
Hey, you know what?
I won't get away with that. Bye for now, everyone.
See you, everybody.